Oh no! Please.
So we're coming to a close on the Star Wars month. I've been doing the prequels, sequels, original trilogy, all of it, you name it. And today we're discussing the much anticipated Rise of Skywalker. I've got Todd, Albow, Lindsay, and Theo, and we're going to be going full spoilers. So if you haven't seen Rise of Skywalker, there's going to be a review posted on our YouTube channel. However, I don't know. I feel like this movie has so many things that sort of bear talking about that a proper review first for a podcast episode wouldn't be as effective. So I just wanted to get rid of the middleman and that nonsense and just go right into it. Full spoilers. Again, I can't preface this enough. If you haven't seen the movie or don't care, feel free to listen.
Sorry, go.
No, you're fine. But yeah, we'll just go into positives we had to start, in the right direction, I guess. Todd, what was a positive you had from this film?
I really enjoyed some of the fan service stuff. I enjoyed seeing Chewbacca get a medal. That was kind of fun. I enjoyed seeing Wedge Antilles from the original films and stuff like that. So I enjoyed some of the fan service, some of those sorts of things.
Awesome. Albow, what are some of your favorite moments or positives that you come away with?
Well, I really like the Kylo Ren redemption because I predicted it since what's it called?
I was arguing with so many people on that. I thought it wasn't going to happen because I'm a dummy.
I saw it coming since The Force Awakens. I just felt I liked that it happened. I just felt like it wasn't executed as well as it could have been, but I did enjoy it.
Gotcha. Yeah, going off of that, I agree with you that the execution wasn't the best. But just Kylo Ren, it could have been way better, but just Ben Solo attacking the Knights of Ren. I get the Knights of Ren weren't that well, utilized in this movie, but it's so good visually. And that little smirk on his face, because he's getting, his clock is getting cleaned in that fight. Because he doesn't have any weapons. He's just taking them on 1 versus 8 without a lightsaber. And then you see that smug grin on his face when he knows he's getting the lightsaber. And I was like, oh, yeah.
Yeah, it was dope.
This is cool. I'm a simple man. But Lindsay, what are some positives you took away from this?
I really just like the main trio. I like their relationship, and I think the actors have really good chemistry. So anytime they were all three on screen together, I was like, yeah, I'm enjoying this a lot. And then they all hugged, and I was like, I really, really like this.
I agree with that too. So even though the movie's a mess, and we'll get into that more, just seeing them all come together, I was like, oh, that was nice.
It's just sweet. I just love them. And they love each other. I just think that they're really good together, all three of those people.
Who have never, previous in the other two movies, have never shared the screen, all three of them, which is insane.
It is crazy.
But Theo, what are some positive you got?
Honestly, it's weird to say because it's kind of part and parcel with my flaws of this film, but I genuinely thought that a lot of the fact that they gave us so many set pieces was kind of fun in its own right. It was very much
I can agree with that.
Oh, now we're in this new location, K. That's how I felt. But hey, this is pretty neat, the analogy I used is when you're in high school or whatever, and you're like, hey, we're gonna go on a trip to France or Italy or whatever, and it's okay, 1 hour here, okay, next one, 1 hour here, okay, next one, and it's just well, you just don't have any time to breathe. But hey, the photos are gonna be pretty nice. You went to a lot of places. It's cool.
Great Instagram posts coming your way.
Honestly, though, when she's in the ruined Death Star, that was a very picturesque location. I'm sad they spent 5 minutes there, but while they were there, it was pretty damn cool.
But yeah, one of my positives, I guess, from the movie is sort of similar to Theo in that it's for sure a negative in a way. but I feel like this movie embodies like everything that has been a mistake in Star Wars since like day one. And at the end of the day, I don't know why, but it's almost cool to see that happen, because it's like, oh, well, like you're, I mean, I don't think they're actively choosing to do that, but it's like, oh, hey, the movie's crammed. Oh, the movie has a little bit too much fan service. And like, that's what Star Wars is. So I don't know. For whatever reason, like the more I think about it, I'm like, yeah, no, even though that messes with the movie, that sort of works in a weird way for me.
I agree. I think, well, because I said fan service, and to me, to the extent that this worked, it just worked because it was kind of fun and was very indulgent in some ways. When I think you really scrutinize the plot, a lot of it starts to fall apart and doesn't make sense, and it's got a lot of flaws.
Palpatine specifically.
Oh my god.
Palpatine specifically, yeah.
Yes, that was a big problem for me. So, but overall, I just thought it was kind of fun, and I didn't mind that it was rushed, and because we got to see all these different things. So
for sure, and even I'm probably going to mention Palpatine as a negative for a lot of this movie, but even that, like, it was. But
honestly,
just cool.
Palpatine was one of my favorite parts of the movie.
Really?
No, but not for good reasons. He was a really, really stupid, bad villain, I think, but like in such a great way. Yeah. I was like, this is honestly the funniest thing I've ever seen.
Well, that's how I felt. That's how I felt in the first 5 minutes. I was like, wait, is this movie a comedy?
The third act was either ruined or made to be amazing. Just because he's like this bloated corpse-looking guy.
For sure.
That's like being held up by a forklift.
He's barely hanging on.
And he's just like, hello, granddaughter. And he's like shooting lightning out of his fingertips. And I was like, this is the best thing I've ever seen.
Yeah. And one thing I love is that they throw so much exposition at you in the very first 4 minutes of this movie.
Yeah,
where they're like, they do in the crawl, they're like, okay, yeah, Palpatine there's remnants of him being a ghost. And I'm like, oh, like a Force ghost. That's kind of cool. And then in the movie, it's just like, no, Kylo finds him.
So
he's real.
That was the thing where when that happened, I was like, did I just forget that like they were like suggesting Palpatine is still, or like they revealed in The Last Jedi that Palpatine is still alive?
No.
Like, did I just totally forget? Because they just casually threw Palpatine in that crawl, and I was like,
it's so like, stupid and messy. I love it.
The first 4 minutes of this movie is the biggest like fuck you to The Last Jedi. Yeah. Like that's all it is. This is just like everything you might have wanted. It's not going to happen. There you go.
Well, even then, like even if it was just that, on top of that, you could have done, like that stuff could be in a whole movie, and they're just like, yes, Kylo, I've been pulling the strings behind the scenes the whole time,
right?
And it's like, okay, well, that's a massive plot point on its own, and then the Emperor just decides to throw out as well, also Rey, not what she looks, and I was like, dear God, this is so much.
That's when I was like, this is going to be a really good movie.
Well, yeah, that reveal that Palpatine is still alive, that's like a whole movie, you know?
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
The fact that they were just,
that's like a twist you could put at the end of episode 8. And then you're sort of ready for it. And then it's like, okay, I can sort of understand where they're going, whatever.
Right. No, totally. I was just like, I genuinely think that's why I had such a good time with the movie, even though I really think very little of it, was because I was just like, well, I mean, yeah, you're right. These first 4 minutes, like, I'm like ready. Like, they've readied me for like what the rest of this movie is gonna be like. Like, here's just plot point, like after plot. It's just it's so fascinating.
So fun.
Well, yeah. After the first 4 minutes, you're like, oh, okay, this is gonna be kind of dumb.
Right.
Good.
Yeah.
And then,
I think that's kind of a look. If J.J. Abrams and the writing team was just like, hey, this is the decision we're going to go with. We have to make Rey a Palpatine, which is we'll get to. It's ridiculous, but if that's where they wanted to go, and all these silly decisions they made, that is like one of the smartest decisions off the bat, because it puts you in that mindset where you're like, oh, okay, this is not gonna make complete sense.
Yeah. That's fair.
I think it helps that Star Wars has always been so silly to me. Like, I don't want to offend Star Wars fans, but Star Wars has always been hilarious. It's always been this weird, campy nonsense in space. So when people were like, this was weird, campy nonsense in space, I was like, Star Wars has literally always been that. I don't know if you guys are aware.
Well, every time I've gone back to the prequels again and again, I'm just finding myself enjoying it more because those movies are so silly. Like,
they're so silly.
They're made for 5-year-olds. Like,
They are, yep.
but also at the same time, so it's very similar. This movie is very prequel-y, very Return of the Jedi, and very Avengers Endgame, like all in one little.
Oh my
bow.
god, it was so much Avengers Endgame. So me and my friends all made prediction bingo cards, and on mine I wrote the Star Wars will meld into the MCU. And the ending was so Endgame that they let me count that as part of my bingo.
I mean,
well, okay. So I actually like that scene because I told my friend, like, there's things they can do, and because it's Star Wars, and even if they set it up poorly, I don't care. Like, I just want to see a bunch of spaceships showing up. And yeah, it doesn't make sense that Lando and Chewie drove around the entire galaxy and were like, hey, we're fighting the Emperor, and everybody was just like, yeah.
They did it so fast.
Really cool.
That's like the best encapsulation I can like that span of 2 minutes where it's like, oh, it's hopeless. We truly are alone in the world, or whatever. We truly are like alone. We're gonna lie, and like all these ships are being destroyed, and then like it's like Roger, nope, like we're behind you, and then there's like 10,000 ships there. They're like, we're not alone, and then immediately comes like Palpatine going like, I have both your life, and then zaps the beam into the sky, and all those like 10,000 ships that were just introduced right there as like a turning point are all like, just, like they're falling down. It's just, like,
they're just gone. It's so good, but also he was so powerful. He just like knocked.
It just felt like Dragon Ball Z, where it's just like,
yeah, they were all powered.
Like,
yeah, I mean, Star Wars is an anime.
It was that was the actual that was this one of the two parts that I laughed out loud was when they look at the ships, because it's a comically large number of ships.
It's so many.
It wasn't even like, it literally could have been just a little bit, the same amount that they went in with, like just double that, and that would have been fine. But instead they were like, oh yeah, the entire galaxy.
I was just, if he was so powerful, why did he need Rey?
Why did he wait? Yeah, why did he wait to use that card?
Yeah, because he was just like, oh, Kylo and Rey are both here. Let me just zap you guys with my lightning fingers. Like, I was like, wait, why does he need Rey if he's this powerful?
Also, I'm not gonna lie, I know Theo mentions the thing where he's like, oh, it's hopeless. I'm not gonna lie, I'll give this movie one thing. Because it was such a back and forth of what is going on? We're jumping planet to planet. Mm-hmm. I really thought this movie was gonna end as just like, oh yeah, Poe just dies, and it was hopeless.
but he wouldn't have died. He would have died, and they would be like, oh, JK, he was in the wrong spaceship, like Albow.
Oh yeah, no. So okay, I get where you're going with that, but I actually do like, even though I completely understood, I was like, well, he's gonna eventually get his memory back. I actually did really dig the C-3PO mind wipe. Just
me too. I liked it because in my prediction bingo, I predicted C-3PO will sacrifice himself. So I really liked
that.
Yeah, that counted. He sacrificed himself.
Yeah, I would say that. Yeah. I would count that. Yeah.
I don't know. I just like that whole, like, C-3PO has never had like that one moment. I feel like R2-D2 had that in the prequels. Yeah. And this was like his time to shine.
Can I say that Poe Dameron really seems to hate C-3PO?
I love it.
I also hate C-3PO, so I don't blame him.
Han and Luke both hate C-3PO in the original trilogy.
Yeah. I love Poe does a good job with that. Yep.
And I do love the idea that, like, to us, like, C-3PO is so important because, like, we've been with him. He's been with us for 6 movies. Mm-hmm. But, like, to Poe Dameron, who's just seeing this annoying droid, he's like, please stop talking. Like, you are
Yeah.
last thing I want to do.
He's been
So
in
funny.
he's been in 9 movies. Those 2
Yeah.
droids have been in all 9 movies.
They
10.
really are the heart
Because they're in
and
Rogue
soul.
One too.
Oh, 10.
Oh,
Yeah,
cool.
there you go.
Briefly,
Awesome.
just to get it off the checklist.
Yeah.
Well, so like that I just can I just this is like another thing that I just think was so funny with along with this is like I honestly forget the name of that
Little droid.
spice. Oh, sorry.
Oh,
The
the
spice
Carrie
runner
Russell?
girl who Poe like I guess like had a relationship with in the past.
Mhm.
She
Yes.
has the like Daft Punk helmet, you know.
Yeah.
yeah. So
Um,
a couple people are saying that she looks like the Pink Ranger from Power Rangers.
Oh wow. Okay, yeah, fair, fair.
She looks like the Rocketeer, if you've ever seen that.
She does look like the Rocketeer.
I just
Uh,
like the moment where
Zori is her name.
the moment where she was like, I've been like for the past 7 years, I've been saving up enough money to get myself out of here. Like a Charlie and the Chocolate. Like the whole scene just felt like on the rooftops of Charlie and Chocolate Factory.
It really did.
Grandpa, and they're like looking out, and they're like, "You'll find your ticket, like your golden ticket, out of here." And then like they talk, and she's like, "JK, you can have this."
I know. I couldn't believe.
I was
I'm
just like,
so
holy
sorry. I'm not
shit.
even trying to nitpick. It's just like I would really love to know, like, I just really would have loved to hear what they were like. So emotional story beats, like, how do we pull out? Like, I don't know. It's just like I really think they probably had 20 hours worth of a
Well, okay.
well-paced movie in the cutting room floor. You know what I
That's,
mean?
that's what I wanted to mention because there's so many things that have come out and they're like, oh hey, if you just read the companion piece book,
Oh my
it makes
God.
a lot more sense. And it's like, yeah, but you tried to shove an entire novel that's 300 pages into a 2.5 hour movie. Because like, I don't know if you guys felt this, but like the scene with Lando and one of the other new characters in Janna, who's another of the stormtroopers that left the First Order, like that scene could mean so much because like you read into it at first when he's like, "Where are you from?" And I thought that scene was going to her being like, "Ooh, I'm in this. I was born in this galaxy," and Lando being like, "I spent a long time in that galaxy." And like a comedic beat happening, but instead he was like, let's find out. In almost like a weird way. And there's an article that came out that was like, oh yeah, Lando did live there with his wife.
Oh my God.
And they were attacked by the First Order and they lost their kid and never saw her again. And I was like, but you didn't put that in the movie.
I didn't know that. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know that either.
And like another thing they throw out was like, oh, we're going to talk about this too. Lindsay, I hope this was on your bingo card. I hope that you put, oh yeah, the LGBT inclusion in Star Wars is going to be one scene.
Gay rights.
But someone was like, oh, well, they have a whole description of both these characters. And it's a great description. However, only one of those characters says a line. And it's something like, but going into that is against all the odds. Like, that's it. There's no...
I've never, ever felt more represented in my life.
Yeah. In chapter 2 did a better job, honestly.
It really did. I'm like not even lying. That really did. But
I think this one was better than Avengers Endgame.
Interesting. Okay.
wait, really?
Endgame was just one of the directors who is not gay.
Oh, you mean in terms of representation?
Yes.
Oh yeah. I see what
Yeah,
you're
Oh no.
I was like, you thought this was better than Endgame? Let's talk about that.
Maybe, 'cause I'm not gonna lie, it's Star Wars shill. So, so we're just gonna go into it.
Can we
Do
talk
we want to
about-
go into negatives?
We have been. Everything that's good about it is also a negative.
I'm sorry.
There's a balance within it. It's both good and bad.
Wait, but when Finn was about to say something as they were sinking in the sand,
That's
and then
another article thing.
that
Are
just
you ready for
never
this?
came back up again. Yeah, what is it?
J.J. Abrams was like, "Oh yeah, he was gonna tell Rey that he's force sensitive," and I was like, "That's not what anybody read into that scene."
Yep.
No, it was definitely going to be like, "I love you."
Yeah, and Rey was gonna be like, I know.
Well, because
Oh my God.
he wouldn't tell that to Poe, you know. So it's
That's
He
like,
would,
right. Why would he
though.
not
He-
say
he
that to
doesn't-
Poe? Would Poe feel
I
left
know,
out?
because they,
Is
like,
that?
love each other.
Oh man,
I another thing that I really quote unquote liked.
I like the worm.
Well, because that should be on your bingo card. Where like Rey uses the power of love to heal nature back to its original state. Because that was just a very like.
Has that ever been a thing in Star Wars before?
Okay, I will throw this out there. Technically, Palpatine has, I think, in some book, Palpatine has had healing powers, and in the story of Plagueis, Plagueis could have taught Palpatine how to heal, so that might be in their lineage. However, there's no explanation, and it makes almost no sense because also you could say that Rey was reading those books, so that could be it. But again, they don't really spend any time trying to explain it. They're just like, oh yeah, this is a thing now.
It was
Yeah.
just like this is something I saw in one of my Pokemon VHS tapes. Like that's just what
Oh
it
my
was.
God.
No, that is the end of Pokemon the movie, Theo.
By the way, not to get overly nerdy, but she had this books, and didn't they just burn books in the
Yeah.
last film?
No, okay, no. If you're watching The Last Jedi closely,
Yeah.
I've had to tell. I don't mean to be like, well, actually.
I'm asking.
No.
Yeah.
So when Yoda says to Luke, everything she needs is with her now. He like
That's a good
you're
Yoda.
reading into that scene being like she doesn't need the
Great.
books when actually she took the books in the ship. And there's a
Okay.
brief scene at the end of episode 8 where like right at the end where Rey's saying hi to Poe, and before that you see the books in a shelf
Perfect.
that she stored.
Problem averted.
Yep. But I also will agree. I'm not sure if I love just the daily life of a Jedi where Rey's just going through an obstacle course, being like, come on, let me be one with the Force. Because like, why couldn't she be? I don't know. I'm very confused at the can of worms that opens of her not being able to see her previous masters. And also like some of the stuff she was doing didn't really make, like she was like, oh, I tie myself up and then punch this thing. And I was like, okay, this is kind of cool, but I feel like this is a trailer for a parkour course
Yep.
at
Totally.
Disneyland.
Oh wow. We're gonna watch this video in like 2 years and be like, hey, was onto something here.
Yeah, no, they're gonna figure it out. Disney, I can design it for you. No, other negatives I had. I'm completely against the Palpatine lineage.
Oh my god.
I think it's so funny.
Most
so bad.
Yeah.
specifically, because the idea of Palpatine
Having sex.
doing yeah.
Yeah, can we talk about how he fucks?
No, well,
He probably does drug you. Just saying.
Like, I'm just choosing to believe that he reproduced asexually or something.
Someone
I'm
told me he
choosing
used,
to believe that too.
someone told me he used mid-chlorians to make Rey
my
the same
God.
way that Anakin was created. And I was like, but then why didn't they say that? And why would he do that also?
Well, okay, what bothers me is like they had such an easy they had such an easy out and being like, oh no, when Kylo Ren rose and Luke Skywalker went away, the Force was just like, yo, we need to fix this. So they were like, oh, Rey, which is like such an easy. Oh, that makes sense. Like this, it doesn't have to have too much logic, but literally the entire thesis of episode 8 is, oh, hey, it doesn't matter that you're a nobody. The Force can go through anyone. And
Exactly.
yeah, and
Yes.
Rey is a nobody. These are the three of the most important notes. And then they were like, oh, just kidding. It's going to be a Palpatine. A Palpatine's going to be the one that saved the Force. But also it doesn't matter because she's a Skywalker. And I want to throw this out to y'all. I think that Skywalker line matters so much more when she's not a Palpatine. And her being like, no, I am the legend
Yep.
of I'm at that level of being a Skywalker.
Yep, I agree.
I agree.
Yeah.
So going back to the sex thing,
my God.
Wait, no, Todd.
Who's Palpatine's partner though?
It was
made
for
a
sure
clone.
Jar
He
Jar.
made a
Let's be honest.
Snoke clone or something. I don't know. I'm choosing to believe.
What?
Well, her
it-
parents did look normal.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know.
Also,
It
why
would've
did he need Rey? Like, why didn't he just take like one of her
So
parents?
my thing, I guess he just wanted to live forever. Maybe he was just like, I want to be an attractive young woman.
But like, why his granddaughter instead of his daughter or son or whatever?
Maybe
I
his
think he
son
just wanted
wasn't
to-
strong enough.
I don't know.
But wait,
Exactly.
Todd, what were you about to say? Sorry.
Oh no, it's fine. I think the son turned against him. Well, this was my question about the timeline of when this would have happened. I think the son would have been born like during when Palpatine was a senator, right?
Yep.
And then
Yep.
and then when he becomes evil, the son tries to get away and abandons him, but he tries to kidnap the granddaughter in the hopes that he can corrupt her instead.
Yeah, of course, because he hasn't
Is
corrupted his son.
Okay.
Okay.
Which, by the way, ridiculous plan. You have this guy
Yes.
Darth Vader, and you've been saying the entire movie, yes, Sith, rule of two, good. And now he's like, oh yeah, but I was all Siths are playing on the side. They don't respect the rule of two. No one has.
No.
Even Darth Vader, he was like, oh hey, my boy Luke, you wanna get in on this? We can rule together. We can take down. I don't know. This movie's a joy.
It's so fun.
I
I
genuinely
had a
thought
great time.
in the first two movies, I genuinely thought Snoke was one of the most interesting things. And like,
Fuck Snoke, apparently.
And they said, yeah, forget that. He's just in
Literally,
this
like,
too.
why did they?
right? It's just like, yeah, it's very, man,
Why was he a character?
right? And can I just say it was so funny when they're like, oh, in order to find the star cluster, the Sith star planet thing, you need
You
one
need
of the
this
like
MacGuffin
Sith
Yeah, you need-
trackers. Well, like how do we like?
to get
Well,
to
Kylo
lean on
must
and
have
visit.
right. Like Kylo must have found one, and like, oh darn. Oh, but don't worry, there's two. And it's
Yeah.
like I would have rather accepted that there's like 50.
Well, but, okay.
Like two just sounds so incredibly.
But
convenient.
even on top of that, even to make that better, the whole oh my god! Even on top of that, they say, oh hey, there's only two of these, and
Mhm.
Rey has the ship, and she's like, I can't confront him. So instead of being like, hey, I can help my friends and just give them the tracker in the ship that I have, she's like, I'm gonna burn the ship, and it's like, Rey.
Yeah,
What?
I did not understand that. That was just like I'm sure they'll explain this. It just happened so quickly.
There's
You know-
so much that happens in the span of those 10 minutes.
Yes.
They went on 2 different map quests.
They did.
I was like, what is going on?
and
So
and-
much happened.
Okay, I'm not gonna lie. Okay, so this actually is a positive. I forgot to mention. I love the inclusion of Han Solo. Like, I know it
Oh,
makes
yeah, me too.
literally no sense, but it's I don't know. That was the one thing where I was like, okay, I can get behind this redemption, even though it's forced, even though there's no.
I think
real-
they needed it just because they didn't have Carrie Fisher anymore to do that like emotional scene.
Mhm.
So I
Yeah.
think they just kind of needed that. So I was like fine with like it not making any sense.
That's another glaring hole in this film, and by no means
Yeah.
does it fall on the team. But like Carrie Fisher's death, like a lot of the scenes they do are reverse shot in a really obvious, like bad way, and it's like,
Mhm.
okay, I understand there's limitations, but at the same time, like just don't have Leia talk as much and just have Rey say a whole paragraph and then have her hug and say, I understand, or something simple like that. Instead, they kept doing like one line. And I was like, oh God, like,
Yeah, it was pretty
Ooh.
messy.
yeah, who chose this? Who?
I don't think the writers were fully aware of what it was gonna look like, man. They just
Yeah.
they just went with it.
Man.
Why was Rose basically written out?
Well,
They
because
don't have an excuse for that. That
No.
was bullshit.
they just went the safe way. That's my theory. Is they were like, oh, people didn't like her in The Last Jedi, and they're like, all right, we already
Yeah.
filmed like 40 hours of Rose, but we're just gonna
Disney's on the cutting room floor being like, we were gonna have a Rose spinoff. What are we gonna do?
That's what I thought. We're the same thing with Domhnall Gleeson, or that's not his name. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's one of my biggest negatives, just so you know. But continue, Theo.
I'm sure they had 3 hours of him, and like they're like, in a normal process they would cut it down to like 30 or 20 minutes, and instead he gets like 90 seconds total or something, and like the way he dies is so unceremonious.
No,
I was like, oh, they're obviously
I thought it
bringing him
was
back.
so funny.
Well,
Clearly
okay,
they're
on
bringing
top
him
of
back
that,
because they did that with every
Yeah,
character,
yeah.
and this is just a joke now.
Richard E. Grant is the one that kills him, which is funny in itself. That
Yes.
because
Yes.
I'm dumb, and everybody in my family was like, "Oh yeah, I knew it was Hux," but I was sitting there, I was like, "Oh well." My brain was like, "Oh well, there's only one new character you introduced, and that's Richard E. Grant, so
Yeah.
he has to be the spy."
Oh,
Like,
I assumed it was
Not the
Hux
same
just
thing.
because they set up that Hux hates Kylo.
Well, okay, but how stupid is it
Yeah,
to
it's
be
very
like,
stupid.
"Oh yeah, I want the downfall of this first order that I've built up just because I don't like Kylo Ren."
Right, because
I
I thought it
know,
was
I
going to be
know.
something really interesting, like, oh, actually,
I've
I've been
been doing
working
it
with
the
the
whole time.
rebels, right?
Exactly.
Like, right? And
'Cause
it's
that
like,
could
whoa,
work.
this character is like deep, actually.
He's been a doofus for all the movies. The dialogue he has at the start of 8 with Poe, like that would make sense if he was working with the rebels. I was like, oh, okay, this is where they're going. And then he says, it only gave me like 15 seconds to think, oh, smart choice, movie. You did something good. And then they're like, no, I just hate Kylo Ren. And I was like,
Yeah.
that is so petty, but also so Star Wars that I don't know what to think.
Dude, yeah.
Going off that, like Richard E. Grant was severely underused in this
Yes.
movie. I feel like they should have.
I was like, why was he here?
They had like a really good actor just introduced for no reason,
Well,
just to be like a pawn for the Emperor, and he had like
I
5
think
lines.
I think I know what it is. They were like, okay, who's a hot actor that kind of looks like Tarkin? And they were like, it's for sure Richard E. Grant. So they put him in there because they're like, how can we get this as close to the originals as we can?
Oh my
And
God.
honestly, it sort of does the job a little bit because he worships the Palpatine.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, okay. I have to throw in what Theo mentioned earlier. The whole trick of killing Chewie, I was seething with rage
Oh my
because I was
God.
like, you're gonna kill Han Solo, you're gonna kill Luke. We're already dealing with literal, like, real life Carrie Fisher dying. How on earth are you gonna kill my Wookiee? And it's not even a good sacrifice.
No,
if
it's.
it turns around and doesn't matter in 30 seconds.
Well,
Like literally 30 seconds. It's so
like-
funny.
My question is, there's nothing in this scene that would lead us to the conclusion, oh, there were 2 ships, and we like
Exactly.
for some reason-
No, there were
we
not
see-
2 ships. There
but,
was
okay,
one ship.
There were 2 ships on the floor,
Oh my
but you
God.
only see one of them go
Okay.
up into the air.
I'm sorry.
So where did Rey look away? And she was like,
Right.
"That's the ship."
I was just that just left me so slack, John, that like it let
I-
me enjoy the rest of the movie.
It took me out for a couple minutes.
Yes.
It really did. It was that annoying to me as an idea. Well, and can I also just throw in? You were listing the people who they already killed. They also killed Admiral Akbar. I just want
They
to remind
did
you of
just
that.
just off to the side for fun.
Off to
Didn't
the
even
side. They
didn't
barely
They didn't even mention him. Yeah. Also, wait. How funny of a movie choice is it? Because I thought this was hilarious too. In like a total like fun campy way, they have that. I'm laughing just saying it, but they have that guy with like 4 horns on his face. That's like, oh, he's giving them the secrets to the First Order, and they're randomly in this ice planet, and it's like they're like, how can we thank you? Like Poe's looking at him, He's like,
Win the war.
yeah, win the war. And I'm like, oh, that's a sweet little character. And then his head is chopped off
Yeah.
in one of the Star Destroyers.
Rest in peace, little dude.
I was like, this cute little guy that they just were like, oh, hey, isn't that nice? Someone helping out the rebels.
I thought that was so funny because like when they were walking and they had his head, for whatever reason, I thought, oh, like somebody was in
someone
an
dressed
alien
up.
disguise and they actually fed them the wrong information or something. Like it's a fake spy.
The writers are not that smart.
That would have added more ridiculousness to this movie that honestly I would be totally for. It was just two little kids in alien trench coats.
Right, absolutely. Like
Face Jam.
Yeah.
Random,
oh my god.
Random.
Go for it, Todd.
A pro and con. I thought the practical effect aliens looked great. I thought the CGI effect aliens did not. That's a general observation I have about the film.
Which were the CGI ones?
I can't even tell which are.
Well, the practical effect ones, like the one that they did with that they cut the head off of, that would be one.
What about the one that was on the ship?
On the ship, which one?
That they literally mentioned for a second, and I know for a fact I saw it at Toys R Us when I was out at the mall. They have toys of this random alien that Poe names him. Like he literally just says his name, and then he goes Gorbnarb, and then that's it. And they have a toy of it.
Wait, in this movie?
Yes,
yeah.
You don't remember the one that looks like Jabba the Hutt, but also mixed with the caterpillar from Bug's Life.
What was he doing? This alien?
He's just standing in the Millennium Falcon. That's it.
It gave me Rick and Morty vibes.
Oh my
Yep,
god!
no, I completely agree with that.
Oh my god! I don't know. So my theory is they will adapt this film into an epic MMORPG that, like, over the pace of these 70 hours it would take to complete the quest line would be an amazing epic. Like, it'd be so memorable. You go to all these places. You have so many cool boss battles.
I completely agree. This movie has a whole trilogy inside it.
Yes.
Even more on top of that.
Like, the whole, like, Jana and her band of merry riders. Like, why wasn't that a whole freaking movie? Like, that was so... Like, we just have, like, Robin Hood now, I guess. Yep. Cool.
And on top of that, they literally, like, that scene can be so much more on both scenes with Jana, where she's able to thrive for literal seconds. Where she's like, oh yeah, like I was also in the First Order as a stormtrooper. Like, that's such a powerful scene, and you can if in any other movie you can linger on that for a second just to be like, oh hey, these two people, because Finn has not had that person that he's been able to relate to about literally his entire life before the past year. Like, and here is this person, and you can have so much more in that. And instead they're like, oh, okay, this is another pro and con. I feel like we're doing this a lot, but how ridiculous was it to be like, oh, not only can they go out in space without any sort of helmet, which has not been in Star Wars ever, ever. But on top of that, they're riding yaks.
Yep.
Oh yeah, I was like, what?
I was just like, we went full Jupiter ascending.
I didn't even know.
You didn't notice the yaks, Lindsay?
No, I didn't notice that they were just breathing in space.
They were just like riding on those ships. It looked
very weird.
It looked ridiculous, but honestly, I loved it because I was like, oh, okay, this is dumb. I adore this. Like, this decision to just be like, oh yeah, the First Order or the Final Order. That's another thing. Oh god, I forgot to throw that out. So not only do they mention, oh, Palpatine's been doing things behind the scenes. Okay, big plot point. You just dropped like a huge bomb. Oh, Rey's not what she seems. Huge plot point. I forgot to mention this because there's so much to unpack in those 4 minutes. 4 minutes in 45 seconds of exposition from Palpatine. But on top of that, he says, yes, you know how you made the First Order. Now we're going to do Final Order. And it's so Jurassic World. It's the Indominus Raptor. He's cool. Like it's so dumb, and I kind of love it. But also, like, how on earth could Palpatine build 5,000 Star Destroyers?
Because yeah, sorry, keep going.
Sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, like, the fact that each of those ships had a planet destroyer. I was like,
Yeah, I was gonna say exactly
bruh.
the same thing. Like in the originals,
A planet destroyer, all of them.
Death Star was the size of like a moon, and it could destroy like a planet. But this is just like one ship
Right.
can destroy a planet. Like, okay, sure, whatever, fuck it.
It's
fine.
amazing.
You could do what you could do is I like that they didn't just build a Death Star. Yeah, that's fine. But on top of that, like the power levels again, this is Theo's right. This is like Dragon Ball. Because it's not just one. It's like, oh yes, my power level is over 9,000. I have all these ships. We can kill anyone. But also they're all connected to a tiny little satellite. That if you kill that, they're done. And I was like, this is who wrote this?
So stupid. I loved every moment of it.
I just
because they also another thing that's screenwriting 101. When you're trying to do 5,000 different things before, because Theo's right. Theo mentioned this point earlier, where they're like, "Oh, well, we have to get this thing, and now we have to get this, and we have to go here to get this little piece." And Ray, just forget that. I'm gonna burn the ship. Oh wait, we met Luke. Psych. We're gonna keep doing these things. But they literally say at the beginning of the movie, they don't say, "Oh yeah, Palpatine's back. We have a week. We have a day. We even 48 hours. I know 48 hours is longer than a day, but like any of those times besides literally 16 hours, why did they decide to go with like such an odd amount of time? But it's also weirdly specific that Palpatine said he's like, oh yes, instead of starting now, I know we're ready, but I want to wait because it will be the most evil at this time in 16 hours.
Exactly.
Oh
So that's the thing.
good.
I didn't even realize it was 16 hours. I was just like, I just had no sense of time whatsoever.
Yeah,
in
me
this
neither. I
one.
was just like, okay,
Right?
like 2 months after, or like an hour.
Okay, you guys
Exactly.
mentioned that, and literally in the movie, I was like, wait, y'all said 16 hours, and we've been to 6 different planets. Like, what's the concept of time here? And then they're also like, oh, hey, we have 15. You can say whatever you want. No one's on their watch thinking, well, it's for sure been 15 hours and 45 minutes. And Poe literally says, we have 15 minutes to take down the Emperor. And it's like, what?
Wait, really? Does he actually say that?
He literally says, we have like 16 minutes before like all the planets are going to be destroyed. And it's like, what, who, why, what?
If Palpatine wasn't such a family man, like, you know, he could have just like what's the
He
opposite
just
of
wanted
Big
a
Bang?
relationship with his daughter. I don't
Right.
He
understand what
did.
the
He just
problem
wanted to
is.
throw the ball with his daughter.
He just
The
wanted
rest
to
of the
get the
5,000
fam
Siths
together.
that also were there.
I have the
I have a
power
question.
of the Siths on my side.
And there were
And then she was
5,000
all,
Siths
"And
that
I
just decided, yeah.
am
Oh, yeah.
Iron Man.
Oh my god.
Also,
No.
okay, another thing, because this movie was ridiculous, when the Emperor like launches his power and Rey like is knocked out and Kylo Ren goes, or Ben Solo, I guess at this point, and Ben Solo goes flying, I legitimately thought, I was like, wait, is that how he died? Like, is that it?
I knew it was not going to be it because it's not Star Wars enough.
But I'm worried because this movie was throwing 50 different curveballs, bringing people back and forth. Like, oh god.
Well, and I just yeah, another example. Man,
I have a question, like for real. Who were
Oh, sorry,
all
so
I
you
those-
have
do
a
feel
question?
bad.
What's your question, Albow?
you know the Palpatine lair? They had like some like shadowy figures, like a crowd. Like who the hell were those?
they're snow
people?
clones, I guess. I don't know.
What
Every
were they?
Sith ever.
But
So
wait,
I was
You're joking.
why weren't they
I
doing
can't-
anything?
No, it's
Yes.
every Sith ever.
It's every Sith ever. So I
Wait,
legitimately
what?
thought, because when Rey's hearing those voices, I didn't even think I was like, okay, this is a really cool scene. But I literally thought, I was like, they're going to bring everybody back, and there's going to be a huge lightsaber fight, and it's going to make no sense, but it's going to be glorious. And for whatever reason, I just put too much in my mind, because if you break it down for a second, you'd be like, oh wait, Samuel L. Jackson is like 75 years old. Liam Neeson for sure doesn't want to get back in the Qui-Gon Jinn suit. How are they going to get Alec Guinness of all people? Is Alec Guinness alive?
Wait. Sorry. They
No?
Highly unlikely.
I don't believe so. No.
the hooded figures were.
I'm gonna
that would
check.
be highly unlikely.
So wait, all the Siths like they just chilled in like Palpatine's little like play palace.
Were they
Yes.
only when Rey showed up. So
I'm
they
so-
were all waiting to be summoned, I suppose. And we're probably, look, honestly, if someone's listening to this far and is going to like pull out, I know I do this too. If you're going to pull out book references, please go for it. I will listen to every one of them. But also, there's no way the movie knew what it was doing. So I'm going to read what you said, and I'm gonna be interested. But you're giving J.J. Abrams too much credit, and I'm giving J.J. Abrams too much credit.
So like yeah, I was gonna say like it really felt like this was going in a way that I liked of The Last Jedi, where I was like, oh, this is just gonna be Star Wars Magnolia, like with like Finn and Janna and like all these other things concurrently. But then like it's like
Magnolia.
right, exactly. But like it's like somebody writing it was like, oh, like Dungeons and Dragons don't split the party. Like as soon as one person like splits from the party, they're like back within 2 minutes.
Yep.
And it's very like I don't know.
You
Yeah.
mentioned
It was-
Dungeons
It
and
was
Dragons.
comforting.
Yeah, tons of people have mentioned this. This feels like a Dungeons and Dragons movie.
I mean, yeah, absolutely. You have people riding yaks on spaceships. like,
and imagine a dungeon master that like he's slow, like he's clearly outnumbered. He's not gonna win. Like everybody's grouped together and is taking on the final boss he set up, and he's just like, yeah, he can lightning the whole sky.
oh my god, right.
He can lightning the whole sky.
Unlimited.
Well, I'm just like, if the dude can do that,
my lightning fully operational.
I know it's so many like little things that
He was so dramatic.
if you can do that from like a mile away and like de-operationalize all those ships, why the fuck aren't you just killing these two? Like it doesn't actually matter because it was fun.
Okay,
I'm just you know
he sort of wants look as. Oh, is that the ice again?
No, that's not me.
Oh,
Um,
well, must have been the robots.
anyways,
but
it doesn't matter.
just as you mentioned, Palpatine is in fact a family man. So he wants to protect Vader's son because even though Vader threw him down that well, and yeah, no, there's bad blood there, he still wants to protect Kylo. And of course, Rey's his granddaughter. So just looking out for the two. What else? What can he do, Theo?
So yeah, that's the thing is like I genuinely thought it was interesting when he was like, "Oh, you can either like kill me, which will
Okay,
actually
are we
fuel
getting
my
into that?
ritual, or you can do nothing and I'll still like win." Like
And
I
I'll
thought,
kill all your friends.
right, I thought that was like genuinely interesting, and then they but you
But
know,
they-
if you think
but
about
they
it too hard, it
didn't-
doesn't make
Yep. So he literally, you're right. He puts the stakes. He's like, kill me, become me, or I'll kill your friends. And it's like, okay, yeah, no, Theo's right. And I was thinking in my head, I was like, okay, so Ben Solo is the one that has to take down Palpatine. Because that makes sense.
exactly.
Yeah.
But that's not what the
But
movie
then
does.
instead, she kills him and nothing happens.
Right, because
That's what I was so confused about.
when they do right, because when they do the whole like, oh, I'm giving you my lightsaber, I was like, oh, bruh, they're gonna switch places. It'll be so sick because Palpatine's gonna be like, Rey, Kylo, and he's gonna be like, you thought, bitch, and he's gonna stab him. But then just yeah, right. Like,
That would have been cool. Yeah, no, that would have been really awesome. Instead,
they would have.
okay, look, I'm not gonna lie. I have to throw this out. I don't know how to describe this, but Adam Driver running the way he does,
Yeah.
I don't know what it was, but that was something I needed. Like him
Yep.
just sprinting to go help out Rey and save the galaxy. Like I was like, I love it. Like he's in the best of shape. This is a beautiful man. Like he's been
God.
Solo. I don't know. Like for whatever reason, I can't. Yeah, I can't go on that scene enough. Like I loved it so much. But yeah, no, it makes no sense.
No, sorry. I mean, a lot of small nitpicks. I'm just nitpicking. I just think this movie is. It's just so funny to discuss.
It's just such a beautiful mess.
Yes.
I know this is a bad take, but I had way more fun with this movie than with The Last Jedi.
Okay,
that's totally fair.
Like a good movie or whatever, but this one was an amazing movie.
Okay, so that's one thing that I'm probably gonna do in a review video that'll be posted before this, more than likely. But like one thing I credit this film a ton for is like, yeah, it's ridiculous, yeah, it's stupid, but at least like there's a little bit of people being like, oh yeah, see, Rian Johnson won, and it's like, guys, no one cares. Like, yeah, Knives Out is great, but also Rian Johnson isn't sitting in his apartment being like, ha 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 ha, the Rise of Skywalker was a mess. He's probably like, oh, it didn't follow like any of the things I set up. I'm a little upset.
I'm just confused because after The Last Jedi came out, all I heard from the entire Star Wars fan base was how much they hated The Last Jedi and how much they hated Rian Johnson. And now The Rise of Skywalker comes out, and they're like, "What? We love Rian Johnson. Why didn't he finish the series?"
Well, okay,
you guys hated him so viciously 2 years ago.
The initial there's two different groups of people. The initial people that came out were just the people that were like, "I'm mad. This movie." And there's a lot of people that do think the movie's bad, but no one, like the people that dwell on it are literally the biggest thing that people were like, what the heck is up with Star Wars fans, is that some dude was like, hey, pay me $1 million. And he started a GoFundMe and he's like, I'll cut out all the women in episode 8. And it's like, hey, your literal main protagonist is a woman. Like, you're not going to have a movie. Like this.
God,
dude, I thought that was the funniest thing when I heard of that. I was just like,
do Star Wars fans like the Star Wars movie?
No, they don't.
Because I don't think they do. I don't think they ever have.
Because I was thinking about it in the same thing. Like people that complain about the prequel, guys, it's more Star Wars. Like, who cares?
I honestly, at least the prequels were consistent.
That's what okay. So Evan, if not Evan, the one y'all know, but Evan, my friend, if you've gotten this far and you finally watched Rise of Skywalker, I hope you understand him. I was like, listen, I know you're not going to like what I'm saying here, but in a way, at least the prequel trilogy makes sense together. And he was like,
they do.
Are you saying this trilogy is worse than that? And I was like, that's not.
I'm sorry.
Exactly.
It's true. As a trilogy,
Star Wars trilogy. I still enjoyed it.
I don't know about that. This is okay. This is clearly the most inconsistent Star Wars trilogy. But I think the thing is, it hits so many. Like I just look over it and I'm like, you hit so many highs that I commend you guys.
Honestly,
whatever.
yeah. I feel like this movie, they just shoved too much in it, but I'm like, that's just like, it was just too much Star Wars in a Star Wars movie.
In fairness, though, I kind of feel that way about Revenge of the Sith, too. Because Revenge of the Sith, I don't know if you guys have, I watch all of them continually.
Revenge of the Sith is a masterpiece, too.
Okay, sort of, but it's also a masterpiece that was meant for like, it was a masterpiece that was meant for a 5-hour movie, not 2 hours and 20 minutes. Or at least, but also I'll throw out if you watch, and I because I was just making fun of those people for watching the companion or reading the companion piece books that inherently make the movies better. But if you watch the 2D Star Wars Attack of the Clones show, it actually really emphasizes Obi-Wan and Anakin's relationship. So that way, when you get to episode 3, why am I talking prequels again? It's because I have an audience around me and I have 4 people I'm subjugating to my prequel thoughts. Anyway, you get like a little bit more relationship, and I hope, I fingers crossed, they do the same, and they're just like, oh hey, we're gonna release a show that takes place, and it's gonna be animated, and it's gonna be between episode 8 and 9. I am so for that. Like to see Poe, Finn, and Rey.
Don't you think a lot of what they're setting up in 9 was like ideas for other TV shows as well?
Yep. Yes.
I am not sure.
Oh, I think I mean, the Kerry Russell character, whose name I'm forgetting.
Who's
She
she?
makes, yeah.
Is
The Pink
she
Ranger?
lesbian A or lesbian B?
No, she was the Pink Ranger, Poe's
Oh,
ex-girlfriend.
Pink Ranger.
Oh, okay,
Yep,
gotcha.
yep.
Of course,
'Cause it was
one of the
She
Spice
was so
Girls.
unnecessary. Like,
No, she's vital to the story. You take that back.
She's unnecessary. Yeah.
Nope, I
It would
disagree.
have made more sense if Poe just killed a fucking like what a bad guy captain and took his badge. Sorry, that was
Disagree.
There needs to be a little bit more romance.
Yeah, no, okay.
he
So
gets a romantic interest in like every movie.
I actually think I said this in film club, but I actually think they included that scene because there was such a movement for Finn and Poe, like as a relationship, that they were like,
yeah.
"See, guys, Poe is
He's
straight. Like we
straight."
promised."
I was like, all right. He
Oh
had
yeah.
way more chemistry with John Boyega than with the Pink Ranger. Is all I'm
okay,
saying.
look. In all
They
honesty,
hugged so many times.
in all honesty,
Hugged
but,
so
okay,
hard.
okay, no. But the only thing about that is like, hey, more guys hugging. That's okay. Like you don't have to read
Okay,
into it too
sure,
much.
but they can also be
However,
gay.
it's not just the hug, because you're right, they do hug a lot. It's the fact that one of the cuts they chose to go with, keep in mind they take multiple. Oscar Isaac is looking at Finn with the jacket on, and he's like, it suits you, while biting his lip.
Yeah, that is a thing. One of my favorite parts in this movie was when they were like, Finn and Poe were both running to each other to like dramatically tell each other
Yep.
something important, and
Love it.
Finn was like, "Oh, here, I know how to track Rey, and this is like plot relevant. What were you gonna say, Poe?" And Poe was basically just like, "I love you." And I was just like, "Oh
he
my
was like,
god, they were running with equal importance."
And he said, okay, actually, one of the things I love on another positive is just when Poe, like they were like, Poe, you're in charge of, you're a general now, like Leia's orders. And then he was like, forget that. Hey, Finn, you're also general. We're general buddies. And I was like, yeah.
General pals.
Yeah.
Another positive was the little mechanic that fixed C-3PO.
Oh, I love
Oh my
him.
god, I
Babu?
loved him.
Babu Frick.
Oh my god.
Yeah. He's
Babu
the
Frick,
MVP.
that's
Oh, wait.
Icon.
Real quick. Since we're towards the end of this, Todd, Albow, Lindsay, and Theo, who are we going to each reward as the MVP of this movie?
God. Sorry.
Sorry.
I nominate Matt Parkman from Heroes.
Yes! Yes! Oh my god! Wait, I was gonna say Charlie from Lost.
No!
I was just so like confused. Like what?
I was like, that's the Lord of the Rings.
I forgot he was there for like.
He's
He had
in
2
there
lines.
a lot. No,
He's
but
in
they
the Lord of the
pan
Rings.
to him a lot in the crowd.
Yeah,
And I was
they
like,
do.
Yeah.
They
who
do.
is this guy?
It was Mary.
Dude,
Yeah, I was like, okay. Weird.
Todd, do you have an MVP?
I really do like that robot, the no thank you robot.
oh my god.
I'd agree with that. He's so cute.
But probably of like the main characters, I'm just a big Chewbacca fan. So I like Chewbacca. What can I say?
Love
I'm a
it.
Chewbacca guy.
Yep.
So
Oh yeah, can I give my real answer?
Oh, go for it.
Yeah, the real MVP of this movie is Palpatine.
That's, okay, I'm not gonna lie.
So iconic.
When you said Charlie from Lost, I was like, sure, thinks Palpatine's the MVP. She's just fronting right now. It's true.
Palpatine was the best part of this movie, and this was the best part of the trilogy. Because I was like,
No.
this is the funniest villain I've ever seen in my life, and I love him with my entire heart.
But also, it's so ridiculous because they were just like, well, he's in the first, so we might as well bring him back.
Okay, so he was so overdramatic that my friends also let me count on my bingo card that Palpatine will be a gay-coded villain.
Albow, do you have an MVP?
I'm gonna go with Rey just because I had a crush on her when The Force Awakens came out.
That's so fair.
Yep, totally
So-
fair.
It's valid.
Okay, so
Yeah.
I was gonna go with Ray, but because you went with that, I'm gonna opt for a different one. And while I'm tempted to say Poe or Finn, I actually think one thing I didn't talk about too much. I actually really love how Billy D. Williams slots into this movie, and I know, like, literally.
Okay,
Who is
unironically,
that?
who's she?
Literally, who is
Oh,
that?
sorry, Lando. Lando is Billy D.
Lando.
You guys don't even
Oh,
care about Star Wars.
Oh wow.
I'm genuinely not a Star Wars. Like,
I
I
know,
barely
it's
know
okay.
anything about Star Wars. I'm so
No,
sorry.
it was great to have you guys on because it's good to have both sides. And someone who just loves Palpatine being included as the most ridiculous character in this universe. So Han Solo isn't here. Something that I felt like was a little bit missed because DJ in episode 8 is sort of filling in for like a Han Solo-esque character, and he's so weird. They were just like, oh yeah, Benicio, you want to do a weird stutter? Go for it, I guess. Let's be a little bit quirky. And that's like ridiculous in itself. But just to have Lando back and just be like, I get it's fan service. I don't really care. Just to have him be like, just that line. Just immediately when I was like, oh wait, this is still a Star Wars movie. Because you have that first 5 minutes. That's ridiculous. We've already talked about. Then you have Poe jumping through light speed for like 6 different times. Then you have Rey doing an obstacle course and talking to Leia, shot, reverse shot, all this stuff. And then literally like the moment when I was just allowed to breathe for a second was when Billy D. Williams, like, because Rey does some weird thing where she sees a vision too. There's so much in this movie, but he walks up behind Chewbacca and he's like, easy to spot a Wookiee in a crowd. And Chewie's just like, "Arr!" I was like, this is so pure. This is so wonderful.
Yeah,
And I really love the presence that he brings. And I completely understand when they're like, when Poe or Finn's talking to him and he's like, really could use a fly, or he's like, Leia needs flyers like you. He's like, I retired long ago. You clearly know he's coming back. Like, I'm not going to sit here and be like, I was surprised. But when he does, it's still wonderful. And even though it's ridiculous that Lando and Chewie could bring them in, the fact that it's Lando and Chewie is so much fun. And I love Billy D. He's my MVP.
That's super fair.
Oh man.
My MVP is that one
Spice
that
Girl.
one Spice Girl. Is that one alien kid who's like a stand-in for people of color who gives her the necklace.
Oh my god!
You don't know!
And because of that, this movie could, like, they were like, wait, we need Kylo to figure out where the fuck they are. Okay, we'll have this like Pocahontas moment.
Theo, no!
Oh my god, Theo, yes! Theo, yes!
It's just when he snatches the necklace and was like, "We need to give this to our scientists to analyze." Like, where it came from. I'm just like, oh god.
Oh my god, it's so funny.
We're going to bring this into the lab to examine. Also, yeah, no, they use that way too much. And it really, like, honestly, I didn't realize they weren't in the same room and they were just in a bubble until Kylo brings up, he sees the Darth Vader mask and he's like, ooh, I know where you are. And I was like, oh, like, that's what they meant before. None of that made sense to me for quite some time.
That's a little confusing, yeah.
Yeah. So that
Ryan Johnson barely touched the surface on like what that connection was.
Yes.
And some would argue that it wasn't even fully established to be used again. But JJ saw that and he's like, if there was anything JJ could have took from Last Jedi, it was not that. Like
so that's what I was saying is like the one time they used it, like when she's in his ship and he's on the planet and they fought, I actually thought was really cool and probably my favorite moment just because they had a few really creative uses of like blending the two together, where it's like there's just this one transition where like they're fighting on like the world and then as the camera like rotates, like pieces of the ship like are just like there and come into view, and I was like, oh, that's cool, that's like creative. So that's my one like non-cynical positive.
Oh,
I think that was a really cool moment.
I agree with you in that it looks cool, but again, it doesn't make the most sense.
Nope.
Also, they do not establish, because just to be clear, on the fallen Death Star, they
Oh God, yep.
Kylo teleports there, correct?
Yep, he teleports there. I don't know.
God,
Yep.
oh no!
I don't know. That was just yep. That's the thing. Is just like I just truly imagine, like, when we get the inevitable Abrams cut, release the Abrams cut, it'll be like a 12-hour Lord of the Rings thing, and it'll actually be wonderful. I don't know. Like, yeah. Anyways, yeah.
Oh,
Just so many things. And so I'm sorry. Can I?
Go for it.
He teleports there, and they have this line, and he crushes it. And then they teleport to like that scene in the water, like with all the crashing waves. I'm just like, when did we get here? It's just a lot of like.
It was a lot of how did we get here?
I think Adam Driver like force pushes her out of there or something. Like I think Daisy Ridley jumps out or something like that. I don't know.
That's yeah.
But again, like
cool
I understand. J.J. Abrams was basically like, okay, they're in the Death Star. But here's another thing: you literally have the blueprint for the Star Wars fight, because you had Luke and Darth Vader fight on the Death Star. So it's like, oh hey, you can just follow that and have it be like playing on another, paralleling each other. But instead, they're like, haha, just kidding. We're gonna go out to the and like the water looks cool, and I understand that was probably JJ's intention, but at the same time, I was like, "What? What is going? Who?" and Finn's trying to get there, even though like the girl, the companion he has is she's like, "Oh well, Jana." They're like, "Oh well, we can't go on those waters." And then Rey just jumps out there, and she's like, "Okay, now we can go on those waters." And I was like,
yeah, exactly, right.
Or they start up the ship and they get it running in time, and it's like, was there no like a push to get to there, or?
I don't. Man. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, we could just go on and forever. But I know you want.
Yeah, there is honestly like so much that we could.
In other words, I'd give this movie a 10 out of 10. There's no flaws.
Oh my god.
It was perfect as it is.
Yeah, Palpatine is the best villain of the series by far.
It's the best third act of the entire year.
It's the best third act ever.
You're right.
Also, wait. We didn't talk about but also before that, Star Wars tries to pull some Romeo and Juliet nonsense where Rey's like, I have to save Kylo. I'm going to use my force power. And I was like, okay, cool. That's going to be it. Sweet. And then she's like, JK, I died. And I was like, wait, what? And then Kylo's like, I know what I must do. No. I have to have my redemptive arc. I'm going to heal her. And I legitimately thought the last 10 minutes of this movie was just going to be doing that over and over and switching back and forth. And I was like, honestly, whatever. Do whatever you want.
Okay, so I actually have thoughts on the Reylo stuff, because God, like, I was so curious about how they were gonna do that storyline, because I thought it was pretty obvious that it was going to happen, but there was like so many extreme people on both sides who were like, we want them to get together and we don't want them to get together, and they were like so intense. So I was like, how are they going to please both? Because they're going to try, and I actually think they did a pretty good job of trying to please both, because they were like, okay, so Reylo will happen, but he will die immediately afterwards. I was like, I mean, all right, if you want to try to play the middle ground, they did a pretty good job.
But okay, so on that, I wasn't even that big on the idea of Reylo. I was like, wait, guys, this makes sense. But there's so many longing gazes in this film, and Adam Driver just wants to hold Rey's hand so bad.
There were so many hand touches.
Yeah, that's when I was just like, okay, yeah, no, he loves her. I get it. And Rey's just sort of like, yeah, no, I want, or she says that line where she's like, sorry, I only want to hold Ben Solo's hand. And then he has this long, like little like sad moment where he gets to talk to his dad again, and he's like, "Dad, the girl doesn't like me the way I am," and he's like, "Son, go back to being Ben. I'm sick of this nonsense." And he's like, "All right, Dad, I'll throw my lightsaber away."
Stop the voice.
Yeah, Luke.
Oh my god!
Can I just say that? What's the name of the planet where Luke is from? The sand planet. What's it called?
Oh, Tatooine.
Tatooine.
Yeah, when they
thing.
when they landed in Tatooine, I told my friend like, "How much you want to bet the movie ends with Rey looking at the two suns setting?"
As soon as that happened, I was like, "Yep, going." It was oh my god, because the wildest thing. Not only is it very like the most cheesy thing in the world, but B, like A, it's kind of cheesy. B, I kind of liked it in a weird way. C, yeah. Rian Johnson pretty much did that in episode 8.
Yeah, he did.
Where Luke's looking into the distance, his theme is playing, and then J.J. Abrams was like, "Oh, hey, Ryan, can I see your homework for a second?" And he was like, "Sure, JJ, but don't make it look too obvious." And he's like, "Okay, I'll just do that again.
I'll just change it a little bit."
Yeah, I'll just set it on Tatooine. But then on top of that, oh God, she buries the lightsabers, and I've seen multiple things. If Rey knew Anakin Skywalker for a second, she wouldn't have buried his lightsaber in sand. That's his least favorite thing.
It's coarse.
It's gonna get everywhere in his lightsabers. They're not gonna be used. But okay. On top of that, Broom Boy is out here without a lightsaber.
Dude.
Rey's just wasting. Where's Broom Boy? You know, but she's just wasting lightsabers. She's throws one away.
Lightsabers.
Kylo throws one away. We don't know where Leia's is. Okay, and then the end of it, where this random person. Keep in mind. Okay, let's be real here. No one lives on Tatooine at this point. Who is staying on this planet? And
Who was that woman?
I don't know. I have no clue. She just happened to be at the Skywalker's house. And she was like, "Not too many people come around here." And Rey just acts like it's completely normal. And she's like, "Who are you?" And she's like, "Oh, Rey." And then there's a long pause.
"What is your last name?"
Yeah.
Tell me.
So many people in here want to know Rey's last name so badly. And I don't like if me and Theo or Albow or Todd, if I met any of these people in real life, I wouldn't be like, "Oh, hey, Lindsay." And she would be like, "Yes, my name is Lindsay." And I'd say, "What people do you come from?" Like, no one's doing that.
Not a single person is doing that.
Todd, how did you feel about the Rey Skywalker?
I thought it was fine. It reminded me a little bit, if you've seen Solo, of the part when he gets his name.
Oh God, that one's far worse.
But do you know what I'm talking about though?
Yes,
Like the first time.
Wait, you're alone, so I guess your last name will be Solo.
Solo, yeah. It's like and so I turned to my wife during the movie the first time when that little girl asked her, and I went, Rey Solo.
That would be great.
So good.
That's what I thought of that. I thought it was.
She just takes Ben Solo's last name. So the only thing, that bothers me about that scene in particular, as someone who revisited the prequels, as someone who thinks Hayden Christensen did not get his due, and George Lucas did give him that by literally putting him back in Episode 6, which honestly at this point, that's one of my favorite re-edits that George Lucas has done, is just being like, "Oh yeah, it's not Vader. Anakin was a Jedi, and like he should be appreciated with like the rest of the Jedis." And I'm like, "Dope, cool with me." It is a little bit. It opens up a little bit of weird things where it's like, "Oh well, how come Obi-Wan has to be the old ghost and he can't be Ewan McGregor?" Like if I was a ghost, I'd be like, "Oh yeah, I want sexy me, not 80-year-old crusty version." But show me Luke, show me Leia, but on top of that, show me Hayden Christensen, show me Obi-Wan, show me Ben Solo. He redeemed himself. Why isn't he with them?
Yeah, well,
I'm saying that scene could be like way more fan servicey. But I don't know.
Yeah.
On top of that, there was something that you brought up that opened up problems. I'm trying to. God, there's so many things in this movie. I'm forgetting stuff. I'm for sure forgetting stuff.
Can I
And I'm
just
gonna
get
rewatch
another?
it.
Can I just get another F in the chat for Rose? Because like,
God, seriously, I was so mad.
But not only Rose, also Maz Kanata. They set her up to be this awesome character in episode 7. And they're just like, she's going to have a FaceTime call in episode 8. And then in episode 9, she's going to be by the side of Leia, but not in the final big bad fight.
dude,
and it's
right?
like, what?
Yeah.
And I guess it's because they needed someone next to Leia to be like, she's gone. Which,
yeah.
I'm not going to lie, I felt like they milked the Leia stuff a little bit too much.
Yep. I would agree. Dude,
Which,
I know. She was such an interesting character that became not one. You know?
But also, okay, so the thing that I want to throw out is this movie. So in episode 8, Rian Johnson, again, like if JJ's taking notes from episode 8, one thing that episode 8 says is, oh, hey, Leia does know how to use the Force. And it's like, oh, well, that's fine. But can it not be Mary Poppins in space, force posting herself back into the ship? And then in this movie, Luke's like, oh, hey, yeah, back when me and Leia trained, when, where, what happened here? Y'all said the Bucks weren't canon. So when did this happen?
I like that scene.
Because why wouldn't she have a lightsaber? Ever?
I truly,
I don't know.
I was when that. And can I just say in episode 8 when that happened, I was lolling. I was because when that explosion happened, I was like, "Yo, this movie is sick because it doesn't fuck around. Like it's just like, well, I'm so interested in what happens."
Yep.
And then she's like, "I'm Mary Poppins." Yo.
Yeah.
Like,
she said, "Forget that."
What's going on? It's just this is some like the resurrection of Christ or something. Like,
yeah, it was a ridiculously bold choice to make.
There were so many bold choices that I thought that they did a really great job.
Are you talking episode 9?
Yeah.
Of course. Lindsay, biggest fan.
I'm the biggest fan of this movie.
This movie's winning Best Picture.
I mean, it's no cats, guys. It's no cats. Let's not get too
okay. By the way,
certainly is not cats.
if for whatever reason you've made it this far, and we're about to close, I'm pretty sure. If you've made it this far, be on the lookout for our Cats review on YouTube, because me, Lindsay, and probably a whole army of Cats stans are gonna rank the Jellicle Cats. And yeah, more than likely, yeah. Look, Tum Tum Tiger fans or whatever.
Rum Tum Tugger.
Rum Tum Tugger. Yeah, you're gonna see a lot of them. And let me just say,
Mr. Mistopheles.
Mr. Mistopheles is where it's at.
Yeah, no, that's
the magical
of course,
Mr. Mistopheles.
That's who Todd's pulling for. Okay, wait. I have a question for you, Lindsay and Todd.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
As you've both seen this movie now, both movies. If the Cats fought all of Palpatine's Sith at the very end of the movie, do you think they could do it? Do you think they could take down the most powerful villain in all of Star Wars?
Okay,
that can lightning the whole sky.
McCavity the Mystery Cat and Taylor Swift could take them on single-handedly, I think.
Really?
Just spray some catnip and the Siths are done. Okay,
that's a big sizzle for Cats.
Here's what I'll say. Anyone who's heard the song Jellicle Cats wouldn't even ask who would win that fight.
Exactly.
All Idris
Elba has to do is show up, wipe his hand in front of his face, and go meow, and they would all disappear into dust.
This movie has changed my host. They're different people after Cats, but yeah, that's probably going to wrap it up for this episode. We don't have any recommends this week because, of course, how could we not recommend The Rise of Skywalker? Again,
yeah, I recommend The Rise of Skywalker.
Perfect movie.
I recommend the director's cut, and in about 9 years, this will make sense.
I recommend Theo's MMO pitch.
Oh my God. Yes, please.
I think that will really round the trilogy together.
Disney's trying to make the WoW breaker, their topper or whatever.
Yeah, I'm not talking about the current 7, 8, and 9 trilogy. I'm talking about the trilogy that 9.1 and 9.2 will be that I'm very interested in. But yeah, I think that's going to do it. This has been a really fun conversation. Thank you guys for listening. And as always, check out our other podcasts. Again, we have a tourney that's going on for the Decade in Review. However, I'll just throw it out, just saying it now. I don't even know why we're doing a Decade in Review because The Rise of Skywalker is going to win it because it's the best film of the decade. Move over Parasite. But with that said,
Bong Joon
Bong Joon Wars.
Bong
But with that said, if you want to check out our picks, you can do so at All That Film WordPress or All That Film Podcast.wordpress.com. You can check out our Twitter where we post a lot of that stuff. You can do that at All That Film Pod. And if you guys want to check us out on Gmail for whatever reason, if you want to email us, you can do so at allthatfilm1@gmail.com. And if you want to, if you just want to talk about Star Wars, feel free to message in the YouTube comments down below. If you're listening on YouTube, Apple and Spotify, just move over that way. Thank you to my hosts for having an eccentric episode of The Rise of Skywalker. It's been real.
We need to do a Star Wars close-up, like.
Wait, Albow,
So
what is your last name?
my last name,
Wow.
Skywalker.
Dun, 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 dun.